Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. Thank you so much for tuning in. First, I just want to apologize for bumping it back 30 minutes, but today we're going to talk about GLP-1, lifestyle things, your frequently asked questions, and so on and so forth. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will be happy to do my best to answer them. And let's just have some fun together as a community. So first of all, today's video is brought to you, or this live today is brought to you by Motsi. That's my telehealth provider that I've been using to get to my weight loss goal. They're the most affordable GLP-1 company out there. If you go to GLP-1 Winner, you will see that if you put anything but the starting dose in, they are the most affordable because regardless of your dose, it's the same price. And I also love them because they've added tons of other products so you can get more care than just for your weight loss. They use licensed practitioners in all 50 states, and I just really love them. Now, if you go look them up, you'll see some drama, but I think that drama was brought on because it's a company that has openly stood and said, we are going to provide affordable care in all 50 states. And we are going to keep proceeding forward through the fights, through the battles. And because they've been such a big, squeaky wheel out there, they're the first ones to take hits. And if you look at the patterns of the hits, they've taken down us influencers, they've given us hits, they've thrown lawsuits, fake lawsuits at them. They've done lots of stuff. So anyway, it's a great company. It's been pretty much flawless except for when they were being attacked by the different organizations, and it's been a great experience for me. So if you're looking for telehealth that you can get the most affordable GLP-1 medication, there's a link in the description that will save you $40. Okay, so on to today's programming. So I saved a lot of questions that you guys sent. I put up a thing on Instagram. Again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them right here, right now. But let's just get started. So first question that I get a lot is, how do I know how to microdose? And the answer is, you just got to start really low and go really slow. I somewhat question the microdose narrative in a lot of people. I think it's going to work in very healthy people who are looking to have proactive benefits against heart disease, brain issues that run in their families that they've seen other people struggle with. But overall, they're generally very healthy. They are likely going to get a lot of medicinal benefits out of microdosing. But let's say you are not overweight, but you struggle with many different conditions, autoimmune conditions. When we are internally inflamed and having communication problems and your immune system problems, some of the pathways to metabolizing and having hormones communicate are a little jammed up. So I question if you're one of the people who, even if you have no weight to lose, but you have a lot of autoimmune things going on, if a microdose would actually work. I know I've seen as I dosed up, even if I was able to lose weight on a certain dose, every time I dosed up, I saw a layer of inflammation come off. So for me, more medicine meant more help for the things that I was struggling with. I have a family member who's on this who has Parkinson's or Parkinsonism. They don't really make it clear and they're not going in for a full diagnosis, but point being, major tremors, difficulty handwriting. And at the starting dose, they didn't see much change in the tremors and the being able to write and function. But now that they've gone up to the 7.5, all of a sudden they can write. So going back to the question though, how do I know how to microdose? What I would do is start really low, go slow until you feel the benefits that you're looking for, whether that's reduced inflammation, reduced pain. Maybe you want the food noise to quiet down. You'd like a little bit more appetite help. Maybe you're like me, where I'm going to call it digestive hormone dysregulation. I don't test positive for insulin resistance, primarily probably because I've been on a low carb diet for 20 years. So my blood sugar and my insulin numbers have always kind of stayed down. Although also I think there's a difference too between if you produce fat cells or you don't. If you're a fat cell producer, you'll never really test positive for insulin resistance, even if you're 500 pounds, because you continually create fat cells. So the fat cells you have, if it's a definite number, they get overstuffed and now it causes the insulin resistance. So anyway, so this hormone dysfunction, and I lost where I was going with this. Atlanta. Over here in Duluth, Minnesota, we're having the Canadian smoke. And I didn't realize it was affecting me so much until I went away to Florida and then came back and realized, oh, this is making me foggy. It's giving me headaches. It hurts my eyes. But I have a Jasper air filter, so the air in here is pretty good. But when we go outside, it gets bad. Anyway, so microdosing is where I was going with it, I think. So we start low, we go slow, and you go until you get the effects that you're looking for. And then you can just kind of stay there. And what we want is we want the effects without the side effects. So let's say we're getting side effects. There's some things we can do there. But overall, we want to go up just until we start seeing what we're looking for. And we never want to have meat aversion. We don't want to have so much appetite suppression that you forget to eat all day. If we dip there here and there as we're trying to finding the right dose, I think that's okay to be there for a second, but you don't want to stay there month upon month upon month, because then we see the stalls, which gives me to one of these questions here. You will stall out if you undereat for month upon month upon month. Now, if you're just trying to find the right dose and you get stuck there for a week, you might just it might help you with your calorie deficit for a week. It's not the end of the world. It will fade away. Then we know we need to lower the dose a little, or we need to spread the dose out a little. Let's say we're not getting the effects we want, but we're getting side effects. What we could try is splitting it up. So you're not dosing your receptors so hard all at one time, but we're still getting a higher level in our system to help the dysregulation of the hormones. So it's helping regulate the hormones. We need more medicine, some people, to get that done, but we don't want to have those side effects. We don't want to have the nausea, constipation, diarrhea, meat aversion, don't want to eat, look at food and go, some tools, if you do end up getting to that place, you could try protein shakes. It's not where we want to live. Again, we primarily want to nourish our body with meat and whole foods. But let's say we get stuck there. I really love, and they just happen to send these to me, so they're sitting right here. But I love Keto Chow. It's a very clean company. They don't use maltodextrin. They're very serious about their ingredients. I think their flavors are spot on. They just released their fall flavors, the pumpkin, the eggnog, the maple waffle, and the pecan. So we can do that. Another thing you could do is something like cottage cheese. That's really high in protein. Fairlife protein shakes, because that's just easy to buy, and at least we're getting it in. We could do some of those. This isn't something I sell or anything like that. Dr. Rimka has, I think if you put Rimka, you could save 10%, but she talks about these optimal aminos. It has all the aminos in it, but it doesn't have, and I suggest the caps, not the powder, because it doesn't taste, I don't like the taste. No offense, guys. No offense, company. But I would get the tabs, but that just to make sure that you're not breaking down your muscle and you're getting the amino acids that your body needs, even if we're just working on that dose. So, like I said, I kind of question if everybody's going to benefit from microdosing, because some people don't metabolize it very well, whether it's because they're inflamed, they're not getting good sleep, they have high cortisol. There's many different reasons why we might not be metabolizing it as well and need more to see the medicinal benefits. So I have people a lot who are very serious, and I think this is such a good thing to be cautious with upping your dose. We want the lowest effective dose, but sometimes people do need more, especially when it comes to weight loss, especially when it comes to lifelong digestive hormone dysregulation. So, okay, let me see what we got in here so far. I tried Motsi for 3 days, amazing energy, but extreme hunger. I cut back a little. I didn't mind the increased hunger for the short term because I wanted to increase muscle. I love Motsi. I've had some fatigue for years. I have chronic, even in my lab work, it shows chronic fatigue syndrome. And every time I get my labs run, they go, how are you even functioning? I'm like, one step at a time, you got to just keep going. Motsi makes it difficult, honestly, to even sit here. I want to purchase a standing desk. I want to go for walks. I have to do squats and lunges every day. It is amazing. So I wonder if in the dosing, there's many different dosing recommendations. So Motsi doesn't last very long in that vial. So most people suggest that you buy the smallest vial you can, which I think the smallest I can find is 5 milligrams. Buy the smallest vial you can, and they say to inject it all at once. I personally have extended it out a week. I think my vial is 10 milligrams. So I took 2 milligrams a day for 5 days, and I got through it in 5 days. I tried 1 milligram a day, 5 days on, 2 days off, and by week 2, it was cloudy and I was getting site reactions. So it's all up to you what feels good. But even taking 1 milligram Motsi is so effective in the energy. So effective. So where do we get Motsi? It's not a YouTube friendly subject. So if you go to radicallyhealthy.com, I have a free community. And in the free community, which all it requires you to do is create a logon. In the resources section, it's pinned to the top, my favorite companies. There's 3 companies that I suggest. They're all American made. They're all highly tested. Thank you. They're all highly tested. They're all no fillers. And in my thing, it has a discount for each one of them. And one of my favorite companies actually has a sale that ends today, 15% off. And if you use my link and then you use the code, you get 15% off. So if you send an email, Adrian@radicallyhealthy.com, I'm happy to send that to you, the information on that. Otherwise, free community, resources, it'll tell you where we get our peptides from. And I think they're very effective. I haven't seen many site reactions or any site reactions with these companies, so I really love them. Hello, Lewis. It's always good. So funny story, before I came out of the closet, I slightly came out of the closet over in the GLP-1 world. And I was over there at the Downsized, and somebody gave me a free membership to their group, to their membership on YouTube. And so I was typing in there using my real name. And then I was on a different live. I forget which one it was. Lewis, you can tell me. But then I was in a carnivore live and I was like, and Lewis was like, and then I came out of the closet. Anyway, so he put it together before other people. Okay, I've been microdosing since February. We have Troscriptions, NAD, B12, and it's working beautifully. Amazing. Typically 8 to 10 units per week. It's been a game changer for my inflammation as I have celiac. That is phenomenal. Congratulations. My husband also gets away with tiny little doses. And he lost his 50 pounds. He kind of forgot about it. Now he doesn't really take his shots anymore. And he hasn't regained. And his food noise was never there to begin with. So it's not something he's struggling with, which is really exciting when we talk about, does this disrupt the GLP-1 you already have? In his case, I'm not seeing it. In my case, I really think I was severely GLP-1 deficient. So to supplement a deficiency, I don't think that's stopping the deficiency that was already there. Like, I feel like I had no GLP-1, and there's more research about that coming out. Dave on the Pen just had a video and I shared it on Instagram, and it was about DPP4. I think it's DPP4, which I mistakenly, think called DDP4. It's one of those two. Anyway, there's a bacteria enzyme that can grow in our gut that can break up proper digestive hormone signaling. And we have a lot of hormones. They say that our stomach is a brain, which is why it's such a pity we're continuing to do bariatric surgeries. We're cutting into a brain. We're cutting apart the digestive fluids coming in, the signaling, the hormone signaling. We're breaking all of that up. And in the scheme of things, the size of my stomach was not the problem. The digestive hormone dysregulation was the problem. So to me, when I look back, I remember like screaming at my family after the surgery because I was so hungry and I couldn't eat. It was like caging an animal. And then that's just how it is. It's like, well, you're just not supposed to eat because you're overweight, and overweight people aren't supposed to eat. Hopefully we can end that stigma now that we should all be nourishing our bodies. And we just need proper digestive hormone regulation and signaling to process our food better. Yay, you purchased it. Good. And my lifts increased immediately. Yeah, Motsi is called exercise in a bottle. It raises up your AMPK pathways. It helps your mitochondria. It really helps with your stamina. It's just amazing stuff. I think I want to try Retatrutide. Please email me. Absolutely. So I personally really like Retatrutide on top of Troscriptions. This is not something that there's any studies on. I am not giving you medical advice, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm just sharing my experience, okay? So Troscriptions, I had stalled out for a few months. And I probably could have gone up in dose, but I was in the 140s. That was the lowest weight I'd ever been in my life. So I was like, I don't know if I should go up in dose. Like the 140s is pretty healthy. I'm 5'4". And so maybe I should see if I can get along with this. But what I did was add just a dash of Retatrutide on top. And over the next 4 months, I lost 10 pounds. It was very slow. It was very up and down. You couldn't tell at the time. If I didn't have the Happy Scale app, I would have never known. I would have thought nothing of it because it was so slow and so up and down. But when I look at the end of the 4 months, Retatrutide helped me lose 10 pounds, and I didn't change anything else. So I really love that. There's a story, it's not complete yet, on our group. There's a lady that's had some digestive issues on Tirzepatide. She added a little Retatrutide, and she's had to go down, down, down in Tirzepatide, even breaking the dose up because of the digestive issue. But so she hasn't really been able to up herself enough to like get to the weight loss part, but slowly, I believe, even on the lower doses, we are slowly improving gut health, even on the low doses. So she's low. She added a little bit of Retatrutide, and her gut issue seems to be resolved. Retatrutide is also phenomenal, as is Tirzepatide, for eviscerating your visceral fat and protecting your muscle. It has significant reduction in fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and just phenomenal stuff. It's life-changing. I think it's great. Personally, I think I'm currently taking 0.5 every 5 days. So it's not like a ton. It doesn't change my appetite suppression. It doesn't seem to increase. I don't feel anything. I just notice the benefits of taking it. It slightly reduces inflammation even more. It helps the gut more. And I believe it helps the metabolism. Okay, I'm getting ready to increase my dosage from 2.5 to 5. No side effects, but also no weight loss in the past 6 weeks. But my genes feel better. Okay, so your genes feeling better, that's amazing. But yeah, some of us need more to see weight loss. I have one family member who actually gained 10 pounds. We were slowly dosing the family member up to avoid any side effects because we're trying to do the low and slow, especially if we're dealing with any people who are older. We want to protect their bones and their muscle. So we were slowly upping the person. It's been about 6 months. And finally at 7.5, we saw the downward instead of staying the same or going upward. We're finally starting to see it. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes higher doses. If the person wasn't in a state where we really wanted to protect their muscle and their bone, we would have upped them much quicker. But we just have been really, really cautious. I think regardless of if we're seeing weight loss, we are seeing better hormone regulation behind the scene, which is reducing disease and, helping with the visceral fat, helping with all of the things that it comes with, the brain, the heart, so many things with actually having regulated digestive hormones. So I say, go for it, girl. Okay, I tried the lowest dose of Zepbound, but all the side effects were bad. I'm so disappointed. I gave it 3 months. I was so miserable. Okay, so if you're on name brand, it takes a little wigging, but if you search Brittany and split pens, she'll come up. There was a better video. It was by a doctor, but I can't think of which doctor it was. If I think of it, I will put it in the show notes. I got to think of what his name is. Sorry, 1 sec. I'm going to text my son. No internet right now. 1 sec. David, I need the internet to myself. Thank you. Okay, anyway. Now I got lost of where I was. The side effects. Okay, so that's a sign we need to go down in dose. So if we're on name brand, that can be difficult. So you got to look up splitting pens or consider moving to like Motsi, or on our website at Radically Healthy, you can buy freeze-dried peptides as well. That's another affordable option. But you really can split the pen, not that hard. So you'd either want to go down in dose or split it up so you're not hitting your receptors so hard, so you're not hitting your gut so hard, so you're not slowing things down so much. But it really doesn't have to be like that. You shouldn't have to be miserable. We have no miserable people in my group. I don't think. I think we have a lot of happy people. And I think it's because some people need to go down, get that gut healing. I highly suggest considering some BPC 157, some TB 500, and inject it right by the gut so that you can try to get that gut nice and healed up. Because when we're having side effects, sometimes that's an indicator that there's some inflammation, there's some gut healing that's needed, Or maybe you're just so sensitive that you only need a low or microdose. Let's see here. Carnivore for 7 years, but I started becoming insulin resistant. Now able to add a few berries, zucchini, and asparagus. Congratulations. That's amazing. Unfortunately, when I started my group, we saw that and I was completely shocked by it. And so I've been digging into it. And I would have never dug into this until I started seeing it in my group, which is long-term carnivores trying to add some carbs back, having hypoglycemia. And that's a sign that the pancreas isn't properly regulating the blood sugar. We should be able to have carbohydrates if we have proper digestive hormone regulation. And it's looking like, I think carnivore and keto are fantastic for healing and giving your body a break for a short term. It's great for clearing the slate so you can see what you can feel like. You can find out what foods are bothering you. But if foods are bothering you, that's a sign something needs healing, because we should be able to eat whole foods. I'm not necessarily speaking, although many people report when they go on GLP-1 that they previously could not handle dairy and they would struggle with any gluten. And after GLP-1 and having a reduced inflammation on the gut, having some gut healing, allowing the good bacteria to start taking over, they can now handle dairy and gluten. So anyway, I forgot where I was going with this. A few berries, people becoming insulin resistant on a zero carb diet. I'm starting to think, just like, and I know I've said this before, when we don't use our gallbladder because we're eating such a low or zero fat diet, we start getting gallbladder sludge. I just wonder what's happening if we're not using our pancreas for long periods of time. I'm not talking short periods of time. I'm talking long, 7-10 years. For me, 10 months into carnivore is when I saw my indication that I should have woken up to, but I didn't, because I saw so many other benefits that I just thought it was part of the process, which was I went into perimenopause. I had no indication of perimenopause prior to that. I was pretty sick. I was having terrible food reactions, brain fog. I was very, very sick. We're going to call it long COVID, but it turns out long COVID is more like COVID just exasperated what was already going on. So, but I had 28-day cycles when I went on carnivore, and 10 months in, they went down to 21 days. And the cycles of inflammation, my thyroid tanked out, my hormones tanked out, my hair started falling out. My hair used to be down to here, you guys, and I never really cut it. And just all the old hair fell out. And I just anyway, one of the questions that I got on Instagram was, my hair is falling out. How do we make it stop? Okay. So first, we want to be proactive. So when we're in weight loss, we need to take breaks from a calorie deficit if possible. And I accidentally did that on GLP-1. And so I guess I feel really lucky, to be honest, that I didn't lose hair on GLP-1, period. I didn't. I've lost 50 pounds. I haven't had a hair shedding. It's almost a year. On September 9th, I think, it'll be a year. And I didn't have this big shedding. But when I hit certain milestones, my brain freaked out a little bit. Like when I hit the 150s, I kind of went, okay, I've hit 159 before, but I've never passed it, and I can never hold on to it. And so some people will call it self-sabotage. I'm going to call it, I took a break for a second. I just took a break for a second, and because I didn't necessarily believe I could get past that. And so I guess I just kind of stopped trying for a second. Let's say that. And then I had the same exact thing happen in the 140s, where I was like, I didn't believe I could get past this point because I'd never been past it before. It seemed like that could never happen for me. And so I just kind of pulled back a little bit. And I think those pullbacks actually helped me. I think they helped my metabolism, because I wasn't just a ski slope, which hurts your metabolism. And I think it helped my hair and my hormones because it wasn't a ski slope. So, and it also helped me mentally to sit and process what was happening at the time. I don't think it was a terrible thing to take those breaks. So that's one thing you can do. Obviously, eat a protein-heavy diet. Make sure you're eating plenty of protein, getting your liquids in, getting your sleep. But it's pretty common 3 months after a stressful event, whether that's a divorce, weight loss, a complete diet change, any stressor to our body, that will have a shedding 3 months later. So it's already been in process for a while. And so now what we need to do is like nourish you, make sure you're getting your sleep. And there's a couple things you could get checked. Let me see. Okay. I would definitely get your vitamin D checked. Even if you live in a sunny state, you might not be absorbing hormonally. Your body might not be allowing you to absorb the vitamin the way you should and metabolize those hormones the way you should. I personally would also get my thyroid and hormones checked and my ferritin checked. So for me, when I lost hair, it went on for like 4 months that my hair, I would just touch it and like handfuls would come out. I got my ferritin checked. It was in the tank. I got some infusions because I have gastric bypass. It's pretty common. And it stopped. And then I went on thyroid medicine and progesterone. And those 3 things stopped my hair loss for me. Now, it hasn't completely come back. So I've been talking to Emily, a practitioner that we work with in our group. A lot of people work with her in our group. And she said prescription minoxidil could be helpful. The topical, many people don't like that as much. They say the hair comes in, it feels kind of strawy. They say when you stop the minoxidil, sometimes that hair kind of falls out. So they said that the oral prescription is a little better. There is you want to get your minerals in, make sure it has plenty of iodine and zinc. And there is a pumpkin seed supplement that you can also try. And I think those are the major hair tips. Let me see if I've lost anything here now. You guys are doing so awesome. Thank you guys for commenting. I love it. If you could, please like as well. If you could like, share, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Oh, okay, let's see here. The lowest dose, carnivore, insulin resistance, and let's see here. I didn't like Zepbound. I switched to semaglutide. I would love to know if you like it because it's interesting. From the reports that I receive, people who started with tirzepatide and then they go to semaglutide because that's what they have access to. Maybe they want to save the money. You know, there's many reasons. Maybe they wanted to just cycle between the two to give the GIP receptor a break. They didn't like semaglutide. And then sometimes people who start on semaglutide and go on tirzepatide, they go, I don't really like that either. So it seems like you like what you like, and we're all very different. They're both very effective, very, very effective. But the studies are showing that perhaps tirzepatide is twice as effective with less side effects. That's just what the studies show. But in real life, I haven't tried them both. I've only tried tirzepatide and then a dash of retatrutide. And I've also tried cagrilinotide. I really like that one. If you haven't heard about that one, it works on a different pathway to the brain to help. It's called the amylin pathway to really help regulate your appetite. And so with tirzepatide, I noticed that at the end of the day, I was like, I didn't snack today. But I didn't really feel anything. Like I still thought about food. I still had to be very strict with my food. I still would have food noise, like if I tried popcorn or nuts or cashews. But when I added just a touch of cagrilinotide, now full control. And to me, so I'm taking 0.25. Some people take 0.25 3 times a week. I'm taking it once a week. Some people take all the way up to 4.5 a week. I personally am good with 2.25, but it just really makes me feel like I'm completely in charge. I feel like the signaling is getting where it should be. So I really like that stuff. And in our group, people said that was, if they had to get rid of everything except for one peptide, they would keep the cagrilinotide. It's very, very effective. Let's see here. Yep. Lewis splits his name brand pens. It's not that hard. I really like this second method. I wish I could think of what the doctor's name is. I'll have to put it in the show notes. Ellie. Hello, Ellie. After 6 years keto carnivore, no longer tested as insulin resistant, but rather super low fasting insulin, so insulin suppressed. That is what we're getting wrong. Is yes, we can change labs, but does that change the other symptoms of having poor insulin regulation, like chronic weight gain? And I'm more and more learning, and I see it in my life, of chasing diets. You know, you start with a low fat, low carb, and then you move to, paleo, and then you move to keto, and maybe somewhere in there, you're no sugars, no grains, maybe some in there, you're trim healthy mama, and eventually you end up at carnivore. And then when carnivore stops working, you move to the fasting and the sardine fasting and the fat fasting, and then you end up at lion diet. And you just keep chasing, trying to keep that weight off, thinking that you just need to do it harder. And in the end, that's a really big stressor on the body. You're signaling to your body, don't release fat. You're signaling to your body stress. You're signaling to your body, to downregulate. And these actually help regulate so we can nourish ourselves at the right dose. At the wrong dose, you're going to struggle to nourish yourself. So be sure to nourish yourself. Let's see here. I may not be losing much weight, but thoroughly impressed I can handle vegetables. Yay! Spaghetti squash. I really want to add spaghetti squash. It's becoming that season, and that sounds delicious. It's pretty low glycemic. It can add a little bit of healthy fiber. Why add fruit and veggies back? Too many anti-nutrients for me. That is a really good question. I would suggest, and you have to be in the right mind space to do this, and I wasn't. So I had a friend who kept sending me this stuff. And I was like, listen, you don't know what it's like when I eat veggies. My gut blows up. I get all gassy. You don't get what it's like when I eat fruit. I get addicted. And also, I feel like I can't stop. The food noise starts screaming at me. And even worse, because of my surgery, I get hypoglycemia. So you just don't understand what's going on over here. I can't add that stuff back. Then I got my hormones regulated with the GLP-1, low and slow GLP-1. And the gut is healing up with the BPC 157 and TB 500. And I've been able to add some foods back without the hypoglycemia, because what they do is they help you have proper response to your food. So instead of having an over insulin and no glucagon response to my food, I'm having a proper response to my food. Why would we want to add anything back? Because, and I didn't want to hear this either, but our ancestors did eat both plants and animals. And I understand we can't live without the animal piece. We really can't. And I guess technically we can live without the plants. However, that is quick energy for your body. It feeds your thyroid. It's a energy that doesn't require stress hormones to use the energy, versus fat it uses stress hormones to create glucose. And so in a chronic state of stress, you're signaling to your body that there is no plants. You're signaling to your body there is no easy energy. It is winter time. And winter time, our body downregulates. So also, and I didn't want to hear this either, because again, I was saying, listen, every time I add that stuff back, my gut blows up. So don't tell me to add that back, because I know what I feel like and it doesn't feel good. But there is something to having some of the plant nutrients in our gut and creating a diverse microbiome. And I'm just newly digging into this. This isn't something I'm jumping into. The people I'm learning from are Jay Feldman and Mike Fave, and they are not for sugar dieting. You know, it seems like you have to be one or the other, and they're right smack in the middle. They're not for sugar dieting. They're for adding a moderate amount, you have to eat your protein. You have to have the animal fats. They're saying, don't do the pea proteins, not the almond milk. They're right there with us, but then they give a scientific case for the gut bacteria, for the hormones of adding the plants back. So I'm just slowly digging into it. I can't tell you that I'm 100% able to share all of that, because again, it's very new to me. I just know how my body acted with plants, how much better it felt to take them out. And I'm just slowly reintroducing. Another reason for reintroducing, let's be honest, is if I go on a trip to Vegas, which I've only been there one time. I hope to return. It was a really fun place. And they have all this fancy culinary food. It would be nice to get to eat it without gut bloating and hurt and blood sugar issues. It'd be nice just like if they chopped up the cucumber really pretty and put a nice sauce that didn't have seed oil on it, to be able to enjoy that, to be able to enjoy different flavors and textures in my mouth. But the one thing I learned about the gut was, this is a reason why, and I wish every carnivore could hear this, and this is my understanding. When I was first carnivore, the food noise really was pretty quiet. And I was like, this is phenomenal. And I was like, so I must be addicted to carbs. The carbs must be an addiction. It must be a problem. Because when you took it away, the brain got so quiet. But then it came back. And I know I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the food noise coming back. So then I would do things to try to get that quiet back. I would do the sardine fasting to try to get the quiet back. I did the lion diet to try to get the quiet back. But about 35 days into the lion diet, the noise was screaming at me. Why? One of the reasons why can be when we're not giving our gut any fiber at all, I guess the akkermansia can die off. And akkermansia plays a really big role in GLP-1 production and regulation. And so if we're a carnivore and we're having food nose problems, maybe an Akkermansia supplement could help. I also have been very anti allulose, Unamate tea, and berberine because I just know how effective injectable is. It's so effective. And one of the number one comments people say in my group is, I wish I would have been brave enough to start sooner. I was struggling and struggling and struggling. I wish I would have started sooner because this was the missing piece. When I combine this with what I'm doing, the pieces come together. I was going somewhere before that. Missing piece. Oh, I hate when I do that. I knew that was going to happen. Akkermansia, missing piece. I lost it. Let me go back into your notes. Okay. Why add fruit and veggie back? Okay. So and Mike Fave and Jay Feldman, not Dave Feldman, Jay Feldman, they talk about oxalates. They say it's a very serious thing. They take that seriously. So again, that's why I can listen to them because they get it. So I'm not adding back spinach. I thought spinach tastes like sand anyway, I'm not adding, I'm definitely not doing any smoothies. For me, I bought some cucumber because I miss in the summer that creamy cucumber salad, and I'm going to make it seed oil free. I've added a little fruit back for energy and to see if it affected it was kind of an experiment to see what happened with my blood sugar. I've tried some potato and I was really shocked. Potato is something I cut literally 10 years ago, the second I had gastric bypass, which I guess that was probably 11 or 12 years ago. I added potato back and I didn't realize that starchy potato actually doesn't have a huge influence on my glucose, and it hasn't caused me any hypoglycemia at all. I still have to watch like milk, liquid sugar, hypoglycemia because of the gastric bypass. Okay, anyway, semaglutide is a better fit for me. I didn't lose any weight on Zepbound. That is so interesting. And I'm considering going on GLP-1 injection. Oh, I know where I was going with this. Before I finish that. Okay, so allulose, berberine, and Unamate tea. This weekend when I was at Champions for Health, I met 2 people who got better digestive hormone regulation using those supplements. Now, those supplements can be very expensive, so it's not necessarily a money-saving thing. But if you're just totally against injections, that could be something you could definitely try. And I've actually seen it with my own eyes, someone having success when previously they were diet chasing. And the diet chasing stopped when they got proper signaling to the brain and to the pancreas. And they said they did it through berberine, allulose, and Unamate tea. The thing you have to watch for, with allulose is it can disrupt your gut. So you got to start very low and go slow. I really love the brand Scrummy Sweets, which they just changed the name to Switch. But she's very serious about her ingredients. She's using as much animal base as she can, as much organic as she can. She's very serious about her labeling. I mean, she's like a little scientist, honestly, Susie. So that could be something you could try to get your allulose in, is take the gummies, and along with it, you'll get some soluble fiber. So double benefit, because there actually are benefits to soluble fiber, no matter what anybody will tell you. Okay, what did she say? I missed it. I'm considering going on GLP-1, but they're so expensive, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to swing it. I was thinking of trying Topamax Phetermine first, just for the cost. So remember that Phetermine is half of Fen-Phen. So when I know people who've tried it and they really didn't like it. They said it gave them anxiety. It caused heart racing. The second they went off it, they gained the weight back. I don't think Phetermine is getting to the root of the issue, which is digestive hormone dysregulation. It's really just amping up your heart rate and your metabolism to try to get you to burn more weight off. But I'd be really scared because Phetermine or Fen-Phen specifically was causing so many permanent issues in people that it just really scares me that it's even still an option. So how are people affording GLP-1? There are some companies on my website where you can get semaglutide. Let me look and see. I want to say for as low as $200 for 3 months. And it might be less than that. And Tirzepatide is just expensive. Like if you go through Join Mochi, it's $79 a month for the subscription. And then if you get semaglutide, it's $99. If you get tirzepatide, it's $199, and it doesn't matter what your dose is. So that is the most affordable way to get it compounded that I know of. And then the other route that's not YouTube friendly, that's on my radicallyhealthy.com. And I could go look it up and see what is the price. I want to say it's like $200 for a 3-month supply. So we're not talking $200 a month. We're talking $200 for 3 months. And when I look at, because one of the questions I got on Instagram was, how are people affording this? Well, if I'm going to be honest, I don't go to the doctor very often, because every time I go to the doctor, the way Minnesota health insurance works, we pay like $1,200 a month in premiums. And every time we go to the doctor, we have to pay 100% minus the little discount they get for being Blue Cross Blue Shield, so $50 off, So every time I go to the doctor, it's $400. And until we hit the deductible, and then it's a percentage until we hit the out-of-pocket max, which I think is $6,000. So instead of doing that, where last time I went, I told them all my symptoms and I was like, I need help. And they told me, it sounds like you need mental health medication. And then they charged me $400 for that appointment. Instead of doing that, I put that money into peptides that are so unbelievably effective. It feels so much better. I've tried so many different lifestyle things. I've tried so many supplement protocols, so many gut protocols, so many detoxing protocols, so many anti-parasite protocols. Nothing seemed to work until I tried low and slow GLP-1. And I haven't had, there was one time I had side effects, if I'm going to be totally honest, and it's because I switched to a new vial and I must have done the math wrong. I could swear I did the math right, but I must have done it wrong, because I had the thing where you can't eat after 5 o'clock or you get like acid reflux. But other than that one time, which I just must have screwed it up somehow, I haven't had any side effects. It's been nothing but just feeling a lot better, getting to my goal weight for the first time in my life. Not Biggest Loser, not gastric bypass, not carnivore, even though I really wanted that to be the ticket. But GLP-1 plus my weight loss, I was 99% carnivore on my weight loss. Since getting to my goal, and even when I was taking those breaks, I would do an experiment here and there, but still pretty strict carnivore. But then after I got to my goal, then I was like, okay, let's see what else, if there's any other experiments we could do. Now, when I talk to some people, they say, I eat carbs when I'm working out, and then I eat more fat when I'm not working out. And they say, like, if they eat carbs every single day, they'll see some weight gain. I think it's all an experiment for each body. If you want to add carbs back, if it works, how does it work? It's just an experiment. And we could call some of the experiments failures, but they're not, because we're learning and we're moving forward. Like I learned I can't have popcorn in the house, but I can bring a little popcorn to the movie theater, a little tiny bag. And if I just eat that little tiny bag, I won't have hypoglycemia and I won't overeat it because I brought it with me and it didn't trigger food noise, as long as I just had that portion outside of the house, putting boundaries on certain things. I like Dr. Lisa. She's got the green circle, the yellow circle, the orange circle, the red circle. I probably added more colors than she did, but you kind of look at. And then there were foods, when I first added them back, I had no regulation over them whatsoever, and they caused food noise. And I was like, like blueberries. Okay. But then a few times into having blueberries, now I can just have a quarter cup. So there's something to this. Jay Feldman and Mike Fave, they talk about how sometimes when we are binging things that we think are addicting, it is actually our body desiring that. And when we get over that and we nourish ourselves with that, then it seems to ticker off if you have your digestive hormones regulated. And I'm seeing that after adding berries to a couple of meals for a few days. Then I was like, what? I really just want eggs. I really just want steak. I really just want hamburger. Like, I was craving my carnivore meals again. And so I don't have to have carbs at every meal. I don't have to snack. And so I think there is something to our body desiring those. And the reason that I thought I had a problem is because I've been restricting them for 20 years. So you take away the restrictive mindset, you give your body a little bit of it. And I would have said I was pretty chronic. I went lion diet, binging on sugar, chronic. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, I can't do fruit. I immediately want all other things after one strawberry. Give it some time. Maybe you need to up the dose just a little bit because you were talking earlier about moving off of the starting dose, and we'll see what happens. And then, like I said in the beginning, I struggled with the fruit, and now I seem to be doing great with the fruit, just a little bit with my meal. Another thing, in the middle period before where I am right now, I would chase it with meat. So let's say I ate some blueberries, the food noise started going on, have some, if I'm going to be honest, sardines, or I love this canned salmon. I eat like 2 of these per meal. This is what I'm having after we're done talking. It's so yummy. I know it's farm raised. I know it's not perfect, but it's really, really yummy from Trader Joe's. Okay, so I watched Dr. Sean O'Mara's video, and he incorporates fermented veggies and fruits for microbiome diversity. But the carbs are taken out by the fermentation process. I found that interesting. I find that interesting too. And I know people who travel with him and have said he literally takes a bite of ferment with like every bite of his food. And I do think that there is something to the gut biome, and that I think it does need diversity. What I found really interesting was I assumed, okay, if carnivore kills off the Akkermansia, what about fasting? What was interesting about fasting is that you have like a mucosal lining in your gut. And so when you fast, apparently the Akkermansia can actually live off of that mucosal lining. And so fasting actually does not deplete Akkermansia. Fun fact for the day. God put us in a garden for a reason, and we have perverted the boundary he created. I really think and I know people will say, well, the plants we eat today are different than the plants we ate then. Some of them are. Some of them, I don't know. I still think it is a plant. Obviously, if we can just grow it in our yard, order seasonal from local, that would be best. But we definitely saw berries and went, yes! I don't know how they got the honey. I would have to go look that up. There must be a way to get the honey. I can't imagine myself doing it, but I would imagine that if I found a honey pot, that I would be like, yes, honey, finding apples. And here's the other thing. People would say, oh, but maybe we went to gorge ourselves. We have apple trees here. When it's apple season, you got to eat the apples. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of apples. So unless you're canning them, which we didn't always have canning, you would have eaten a lot of apples because they don't stay that long and the birds go after them over time. I guess we could have had a root cellar where maybe we could have kept the apples for a little bit, but I just think we would have ate a lot during different seasons of time. When I was talking to Joe and Rachel, the 2 crazy ketos, they mentioned that in history, we would have eaten a lot of gourds in the winter. So we would have still had plants in the winter because we would have put the gourds, the squash in a root cellar and had that for the winter. So I thought that's true. Those stay good for a really long time. Good evening from Sweden. You're down 58 pounds. That is phenomenal. Congratulations, Jenny. That is amazing. I love it. Congratulations. One of the best parts of, people will say, oh, you're so brave for saying it. I feel like the most blessed person on earth to get to share that there are other tools out there. And that if we tweak the way we use that tool, it can really help our health. Because prior to this, it was like, man, all I have is carnivore harder. And that doesn't seem to be working for my body. And so I get messages every day of saying thank you, because now I was brave enough to add this and it seems to be the missing ticket. Things are coming together. I get messages all the time. I was stalled out for 2, 5, 7 years on keto carnivore and the needle is finally moving. I have people who were stalled out for years and years and years, added just a smidge of GLP-1 and got to goal weight like pretty quickly. But speaking of quickly, I have to give this talk to people every single day. They'll go, oh, the weight loss is so slow. Yeah, it is. It really is. Other than the inflammation, it is slow and it is up and down. That's why I really like the app Happy Scale. And I know particularly on the Apple phone, I use the Renpho scale and that feeds to my phone. Renpho feeds to Apple Health and Apple Health feeds to Happy Scale. So I don't have to plug anything into Happy Scale. And it always gave me the trend. And it would tell me, you are this far into your goal. And it would break the goal up and it just gives you a good look at the scale. but it really is slow. And I lost the inflammation in the beginning. I was pretty hardcore. I was walking like 12 miles a day, lifting 3 times a week, completely tracking Maria Emmerich challenge in the beginning. So yeah, I did have weight loss. When that slowed down, I did stall and go up and down. I saw my lowest in like October. I didn't see that number again until February. So I stalled too, you guys. And it's all about just realizing that this isn't a race. Keep getting your hormones regulated. Keep going forward and knowing one day you are, if I can get to my goal, you guys can. Because honest to God, I believed it every attempt with everything that I tried, and I never got to goal until this. And so if I can do it, I know you guys can too. And some people, we're going to need to add some different tools. Like particularly, it seems like some men they don't seem to do as well as women. But maybe it's because us women are used to having to work really hard all the time just to maintain our weight. I'm not on a GLP-1. I think I've successfully added veggies. The problem is starches. The food noise is loud and they never fill you up. I think that is a signaling issue, because I know this sounds ridiculous. And every time I say it, people get mad, but my husband can fill up on ice cream, and it's not a joke. He can eat a bowl of noodles and then be 24 hours until he eats again. I think with proper hormone signaling, we can get full on a lot of things. Without proper digestive hormone signaling, many of us struggle to get full at all ever. And then just continually be told that we're hungry, we're hungry, we're hungry. But when you get that hormone communication working, whether it's through the allulose berberine unimate, whether it's through an injectable, we get those hormones speaking, and now we can get full eating whole foods. Another thing that's coming out, I work with a company that they're called Buccal strips, and the peptide absorbs through your cheek lining, like right into the bloodstream. So troches are, like, I use the methylene blue, the Troscriptions. I love it. You guys, if you haven't watched the Dr. Scott video, you got to go watch it. He's so intelligent, and this is such good stuff. So troches take 30, 45 minutes to absorb into your cheek, right? So in the meantime, you're swallowing, you're digesting some of the troche. These buccal strips, they absorb in seconds right into your bloodstream. And the next couple of months, they're going to be coming up with GLP-1. And I'm so excited for that, because I think that'll be a great bridge for the people who are like, I'm never injecting anything into my body, but maybe they could use something to help with the hormone regulation. So I'm so excited for that to come out. It's not out yet, but when it is, I will let you guys know. Let's see here. Does Motsi require a prescription? I tried MIDI after paying. They said no. That's after I asked. Okay, so Motsi will write your prescription for you. So if you are a person who wants to microdose because you don't meet BMI requirements, then I suggest you work with my hormone and thyroid lady. Her name is Emily. You can email info@Elevate Health and Hormones. And I think that's down below too. It might say Emily at Elevate Health and Hormones. Either email is fine. And she realizes that this is way more than a BMI. Plus the BMI requirement, you can still be overweight and not meet the BMI requirement. The BMI thing is so stupid. So if you're a person who doesn't traditionally qualify because you're not a BMI of 27 or above, then you could work with someone like Emily. She will work with everybody. Another thing you could do, go to radicallyhealthy.com. In the research, or in the resources of the free community, I just gave it away, are the 3 companies I use, and you can get GLP-1 there for very affordable, and that doesn't require a prescription. And then number 3 is join Motsi. You work with their providers. They write you the prescription. So you don't have to come in with a prescription. They have licensed practitioners who will work with you and help you determine which medication would work for you, and they will write the prescription for you, and they'll mail it right to your door. And if you can get it, I've heard if you can get it from Casa Pharmacy, which is the tirzepatide plus perioxetine, I'm saying it wrong. I've heard it comes back in the Motsi thermos. I miss these. They used to send these with every order, and I had quite the collection. These are great for traveling. They keep peptides cold for like 48 hours. It's awesome. So you don't need a prescription to go to Motsi. And if you use a link down below, you save $40. Let's see here. Motsi gives you an appointment with a provider and a prescription. I love Happy Scale. I got it on your recommendation. I'm 19 pounds from goal. That's amazing. And I like that my weight loss has slowed down. I don't feel like I have to rush. And remember, the slower we lose weight, the more likely we are to preserve our metabolism and our muscle. So slow is the way to go. And I'm totally guilty of not wanting that. Totally guilty. I mean, I came out of the gate walking 12 miles a day, lifting 3 times a week, doing the Maria Emmerich challenge. So I get it. I wanted it off too. But the last 20 pounds were pretty slow. And if I'm being honest, I think I already talked about this, but to get those last pounds off, I added just a touch of Reintroducing in it. It was all the ticket for me to get that off. Let's see here. So we've been talking for 55 minutes. I have more. If you guys have more questions, feel free to put them down. I'll look and see. I covered some of these accidentally because you guys asked them. Like one person said they started on 0.25 and they have horrible heartburn and nausea and they're afraid to continue forward. I'm going to guess that they're on semaglutide and that's too much of a dose. It needs to be cut down. That's too much. If you're having such slow digestion from the starting dose, we got to go down or consider splitting the dose up, taking it 3 times in a week, taking it twice. Hello, friend. Yay. I'm so glad you caught it too. Okay. So let's see here. Hormone is right. One person asked, why am I not losing weight on a GLP-1? And my answer is not going to be popular in the functional space. First thing I want to know is, have you, by a good person, had your thyroid and your hormones checked? Because if those are in the tank, we're going to struggle to lose weight regardless of our calorie deficit and our supplements and our peptides and our GLP-1s. We want to make sure that those are optimized. I suggest working with Emily at Elevate Health and Hormones. Again, info at Elevate Health and Hormones. Mention that Adrian sent you and you save $100 off of your initial lab reading. So it's usually $299, but if you tell them I sent you, it's $199. So get those checked. Next thing, are you sleeping? Because if our sleep is in the tank, we're living in a state of stress. We're not getting into rest and restore. It slows down your body's releasing of fat cells. So are we sleeping? That kind of goes hand in hand with the hormone thing. Because if we're low in progesterone and low in hormones and low in thyroid, we struggle to sleep. So, and then are you tracking your food? I don't know. Nobody wants to do it, but we can't change what we don't know. I think metabolism is a moving target. So what worked for you one day is not going to work for you the next day. So we got to track, know what's working today, what's not working today, and continue to move the needle to try to find the right spot where we can lose some weight. And again, that might change completely throughout time. Hopefully you're really nourishing yourself and you get to eat more and more and more. And I mean, I know I can eat these days. And previously, if I wasn't tracking, I was gaining 30 pounds for real. Like not a joke. Like last summer, I gained 28 pounds, I think it was, just from stop tracking, still strict carnivore, not much dairy, and gaining because the metabolism. These help because of the regulated digestion hormones. These really help your metabolism and the way you process food. So are you tracking? Are you prioritizing sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Because fat, to flush the fat cells and the toxins from the fat, you need to be drinking plenty of water. And I know some people say we drink too much water these days. I'm still in the water camp, especially because I have SIRS, and so my diuretic hormones aren't the best. And so I stay hydrated. And you can see my diuretic hormones are off, but you can also see in my labs that I'm hydrated. And I think that's because I always add my Coco Loco to this from Keto Chow. It's so good. Okay, so are you drinking enough water? Are you getting sleep? Did you have your thyroid checked? And lastly, some people need more to lose weight. Many people are not going to lose weight on a microdose. And I know that's all the rave right now is to talk about the microdose. I think we can get away with the low dose. And my definition of a low dose is that it's quieter, but we're still putting a lot of work in. We're still using that muscle, that appetite muscle. We're still watching what we eat, even a little higher. But to me, a standard dose or a high dose would be, I don't really have an appetite. Forgot to eat today. Every time I try to take a bite, I feel a little like, I'm having lots of symptoms. I'm becoming malnourished because I haven't eaten in a long time. Those are signs to me that you're on a higher dose for your body. And to me, a low dose is, I'm still putting in a lot of work. I'm hungry for every meal. I'm able to eat my meals, but there is a quieting. This is a great tool. This is helping with the food noise. This is helping with my digestive regulation. This is helping with my inflammation. That's just my 2 cents. Okay, here's one last question, unless you guys have more. How do I know when the best time is to titrate off of GLP-1? I'm at goal and I'm afraid to stop. This is such a great question. So I definitely think there's a subset of people like my husband who can absolutely get off this. Another subset would be people who had, after they had baby, they gained weight and they can't seem to lose it. Perimenopause, menopause, you had a surgery and you had to sit for a long period of time to heal, and you gained some weight while you were sitting. You know, these situational events. Those are definite signs that you could go on this to get those digestive hormones regulated again, get your fat cells extinguished, give your body that new normal, and then come off of it. Madison Lowithan on my YouTube channel, she's a great example of this. Dr. Lauren Fitz is another great example of this. So let's say you're in the bucket where you feel you might be one of those people who can get off, whether you meet one of those criteria or you just want to try. You just don't want to be on it for life. So you want to try. So I personally plan on staying on it 12 months past when I got to pretty close to my goal. So I was pretty close to my goal. I was in the 140s in February and then the 130s in, I think, March. So 12 months from February or March, okay, is my goal. Some people, let's just say you're uncomfortable with that. Can we do 6 months just to give your body that new normal, to create this new normal, to create this new set spot, to allow the body to feel regulated, because it is helping the regulated hormones. So that would be my suggestion. First would be stay on it after you got to your goal for a decent period of time to just let your body feel regulated and set that new normal. Whether you want to wait that or not, then we can try spreading out our shots. So instead of taking it every 5 days, every 7 days, maybe you try 9, maybe you try 14. We try spreading those shots out. Another idea is just plain go down in your dose and see how far down you can go. And then eventually we could try to, because perhaps maybe food noise comes. And another really important thing here is, are you building muscle? Are you lifting weights? Because if you're not lifting weights coming off of this, I'm just going to say is probably impossible. So lift your weights, build your muscle, because we need that muscle for our metabolism, for our insulin sensitivity. So you got to be building that muscle this whole time and continue to build muscle. Okay. So we got the muscle. We've lowered ourselves down. Let's say we want to have something to off-ramp us, okay? Some of the tools that we could use would be the allulose, berberine, Motsi tea. That's one. Another one is called CaloCurb. I think that's CALOCURB, I think. I think you can get that at one of the companies or you could just even search CaloCurb. It's a natural supplement that helps your body produce more GLP-1. And so that can be a good help. Another one, if you are okay with the peptides, is cagrilintide. Let's say you were on semaglutide, so we go off and we do cagrilintide, because that's just going to help you off-ramp, help you with continued appetite suppression until you're off. Another thing, let's say we're on tirzepatide, maybe we could try to off-ramp onto semaglutide and then off-ramp all completely, because we're taking away one receptor and then we slowly take away the second receptor. So those are some ideas of how you could off-ramp. I think it should be slow and steady. I know all of us are kind of all or nothing, and so it's really hard to do that slow. The only reason I've been able to slowly add carbs is because if I added them quickly, I will have hypoglycemia. And so I need to proceed very slowly. But take it low and slow to try to titrate off, do the experiment, spread out the shots, see what you can get away with. I know some people are taking 1 milligram once a month. That's like nothing, and that has helped them maintain their weight loss. Another thing that could be really helpful is they're talking about these oral GLP-1s, and they're saying those are great for keeping the weight off. And the oral GLP-1 doesn't stay in your system super long or anything like it doesn't have the same half-life, et cetera, et cetera. So the oral GLP-1 might be a good way to get off the injectable, but it might be a pretty penny. I don't know. Okay, so let's see here. GLP-1 and meat only won't exist when retatrutide is out. The current participants in the trial are not allowed to do low carb because of what has been happening. That's interesting. That's interesting. I know. Now with retatrutide, we have 3 hormones that were digestive hormones that we're getting help regulating. I know. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, I think there are some people in my group who are on retatrutide and are low carb, and I haven't heard anything bad. The only thing I've heard on retatrutide that's been bad is that on higher doses, it can affect your heart rate, it can affect your sleep, it can affect your sleep score, it can affect your anxiety. That's pretty much what I've heard. Oh, and then on more higher doses, people will get kind of a lack of wanting any joy. And so I don't like that. So that's why I've been kind of, instead of just switching over to the best one, I've been just adding a touch of it on top so I can get the benefits without getting that side effect and just putting it on top of tirzepatide. But that's pretty interesting. Oh, you're a type 1 diabetic. Okay. I don't know if you saw, what is it called? Level 1 trials are starting on tirzepatide in type 1 diabetics because they're showing that it can help preserve your beta cells. And it helps you with, obviously, the digestive hormone regulation. And so it can really help when you're eating food. So that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. I really need to sleep now. 7 hours till morning. Good night. Thank you for coming. Bring a vial and empty syringes. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so I've been on tirzepatide with 3 injection last week. I'm tracking and exercising. More hunger this week. The first 2 weeks, I wasn't hungry at all. Will hunger get better again? It definitely ebbs and flows. So some people will blame the vial. Some people will blame the company because the pharmacies seem to be switching all the time. But the truth is that it ebbs and flows. I personally don't like the split dosing thing. That's just me. I mean, I'm taking it every 5 days. Why do I say that? Because let's say you're taking 6 milligram a week, but instead of taking 6, you're taking 2, 3 times a week. Okay. If we take 6 every week, we have some left from last week. So let's say we have 3 from last week. We add our 6, and in a day or 2, we hit 9. Because we're adding the 6 to what was already in our system because of the half-life. It takes a month to get this stuff out of our system, right? So we hit a 9. We feel really good in a 9, right? We've got lots of control. Everything's good. It does kind of ebb off, but you're still riding the fact that you felt really good on that 9. It kind of comes off. Okay, let's say we take that 6 and we break it into 2s. Now we're hitting, we brought in our 3 and we're adding 2 and we're getting a high of 5. So we're just not getting as high of a level in our system. I know some people will say, well, that's great. We're not burning out the receptors. True. Like if we're on the real high dose, we might be hitting our receptors too hard. But let's say we're mid dose. I really like the feeling of every 5 days personally, because I get that good hit. And for me, 5 days on tirzepatide is perfect because as it's wearing off, I take my next injection. And tirzepatide has a 5-day half-life. So I personally really like 5 days, but it all depends on how we're metabolizing it. So I personally don't like the 3 injection thing. I don't think it's getting very high in your system. I think it's staying pretty low and consistently low. And so you might not have as much appetite suppression without increasing the dose. So you'd be taking more to try to hit the same level as if you were taking it every 5 days, if that makes sense. If you go to GLP-1 Plotter, you'll see what I mean. GLP1plotter.com, or maybe it's GLPplotter.com. You'll have to figure it out. And you can put in, what happens if I take 5 every 5 days? What happens if I take 2 every 2 days? And it'll plot it out for you. And you'll see that when we break our shot into 3 and 4, you're not hitting as high. You're waving a bit lower versus if we take more at one time and stack it on the previous week, we're hitting pretty high, but then we're kind of diving off and people don't like the dive off, which is why I like the every 5 days. Speaking of getting way too complicated, one of the questions was, how do I reconstitute peptides? Personally, I look and I say, how many doses in here? 10? 10 doses? Okay. I'm going to inject 10 units times 10 doses. I'm going to put 100 units of reconstitution solution in here. And then I write on the bottle, take 10. So pretty much every vial in my refrigerator is take 10. That's the dose. I don't even have to, but I do write it down just in case. But that's what I do. And then I add just a little extra fluid because you never get the full 100 back out. You get like 95 back out. So I add 110 personally, but then I pretend like I didn't add the extra fluid. Another thing you can do if you're just not a math person and you just don't, and you want to follow a guide, the guides will tell you how much water, but you're still like, I'm so confused. How much do I take? Go to radicallyhealthy.com. The menu, there's a calculator and you can put, there's 10 milligrams in here. I added 2 milliliters of water. I want to take 0.25 milligrams How much do I inject? And it'll tell you, and you can stop doing math. Yeah. Michelle says she was having quite a bit of food noise, but she just added cagrilintide and it's made all the difference. Yeah. Yeah, I love cagrilintide. So I've been telling people, for me, I just needed 0.25 a week, but it turns out some people need more. I'm sorry if this is repeating. I talked about this in our group meeting, which was right before here, which is why I had to back this back. You know, some of the guides will say to take 0.25 3 times a week. I know people who are taking upwards of 1.5 3 times a week. So it's really dependent on you. However, you want to just be careful with every single peptide, with everything that you take. Just start low and go slow. If there's one lesson we're learning here, there's no set dose for every body, but that's been our way of being for a long time. You know, take 250 milligrams of Tylenol or whatever it is. You know, we all take the same Tylenol. We all take the same this. And the truth is that every body metabolizes it so differently. And so peptides are a perfect example of just start low, go slow. I'll tell you a funny story and then I'll let you guys go. I'm going to repeat this experiment, but I'm going to go much slower. And that is melanotan. Melanotan helps you absorb the sun better. It helps your hormones in your skin and in your body absorb that sun and metabolize it into other hormones. So I didn't even realize it, but I went on melanotan, I went on a cruise, and I came back and my vitamin D went from a 40 to an 86. And I thought, it must be the GLP-1, and it just registered recently that a group member told me, no, it was probably the melanotan. I'm going to further experiment with that. But anyway, I saw different guides. How much melanotan do you take? And I saw this one guide that said you could take 200 micrograms per day. So I was like, oh, okay, perfect. It said it was really good for autoimmune people and healing. And so I was like, I got autoimmune, I got to heal. So I start 200 micrograms per day. And I get to day 3 and my face turns bright red on vacation, like I burnt my face. And it wasn't going away like in an hour or two. It was so red. And so what I learned is some people are really sensitive to melanotan. So I should have started with 50 every other day, or, you know, something a little bit more spread out, something a bit lower and slower. But I will definitely be repeating it because the benefits from absorbing the sun are so good for our whole body, for every cell, for our mitochondria, for our hormones, for everything, for our sleep, for our circadian health. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's the seed oils, if it's the dysregulated gut hormones, if it's just low hormones in general, many of us, even if you live in Florida, are not absorbing the sun. And melanotan 1, not necessarily melanotan 2, melanotan 1 can help your body absorb that sun. I want to warn you one more thing though. It says it can have like an SPF, but when I looked it up, it's like an SPF of 4. So you can still get burnt. So if you haven't built up a base, be careful. But a benefit is they say that you can absorb several hours worth of sun in just 30 minutes or just 20, 30 minutes. Just being outside 20, 30 minutes, your body just absorbs it so much more effectively with melanotan 1. Aw, thanks, Ellie. You're so sweet. Well, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming today. I'll definitely do this again soon. I've got some requests for Tyler to do a live with me again. He should tell you guys what has it felt like to come off GLP-1 and what was he thinking? He wasn't thinking about anything. He was just like, I'm good. I'm skinny now. So, all right. I really appreciate you guys all for coming. Please like this video and share it with anybody who you think it might help. And please come back next time. All right. Bye, guys.